It was a championship game, a clash of titans, but by the third quarter, it was a massacre. The reigning champions, the Thunderbolts, were up by an impossible 25 points against the plucky challengers, and the air in the arena was thick with a defeated silence. Then, a referee, a man named Arthur Vance, who rarely spoke above a whisper, began to write a miracle comeback no one, absolutely no one, predicted. The game started like any other, a furious display of athleticism and tactical brilliance from both sides. For the first 2 quarters, the challengers held their own, trading blows, matching intensity. But then, the Thunderbolts unleashed a scoring run so dominant, so relentless, it felt like the challengers had simply ceased to exist on the court. Shot after shot found the net, defensive blocks turned into fast breaks, and by halftime, the lead was already a daunting 18 points. By the middle of the third, when it stretched to 25, the fans of the challengers were heading for the exits, their hopes utterly extinguished. Who could blame them? A comeback of that magnitude just didn't happen, especially not in a high-stakes final. But Arthur Vance, the quiet official, seemed to see something different. For the first 2.5 quarters, his calls had been textbook, impartial, almost invisible. Then, a shift. It began subtly, with a few seemingly insignificant whistles. A travel called on a Thunderbolt guard that looked marginal at best. A questionable offensive foul against their star player, just as he was heating up. The crowd murmured, confused, but the margin was so vast it felt like petty grievances. Yet, the energy on the court, initially one-sided, began to crackle with an unexpected tension. The challengers, deflated moments before, suddenly found a spark. Was it just the calls or something more? It wasn't outright cheating. Vance's decisions were technically within the rules, albeit on the strictest possible interpretation. Each marginal call against the Thunderbolts seemed to infuse the challengers with a renewed, almost desperate vigor. They played harder, sensing an opening that had been slammed shut. And as their confidence grew, the Thunderbolts began to unravel. Their dominance had been so absolute, they weren't used to adversity, let alone officiating that seemed to intentionally push them into it. What Vance was doing, I believe, was orchestrating a psychological masterclass. He wasn't rigging the game for one team, but rather he was injecting chaos, forcing both teams to play under immense, unexpected pressure. For the challengers, it was the pressure of seizing a lifeline they never anticipated. For the Thunderbolts, it was the pressure of losing control, of battling not just their opponents, but the very flow of the game. He created a crucible where the true mental fortitude of each team would be tested. You see, the rules aren't always black and white. There's a vast gray area where interpretation reigns, and Vance was reigning with an iron fist, crafting a narrative. As the fourth quarter began, the impossible happened. The lead had shrunk to 10. Every rebound, every loose ball felt like a championship point. The crowd, those who had stayed and those who had rushed back in, was on its feet, roaring. Vance continued his tight, almost pedantic officiating. The Thunderbolts, flustered and making uncharacteristic mistakes, found themselves buried under technical fouls and turnovers. The challengers, riding a wave of adrenaline and the belief that the game was truly back within reach, played the best basketball of their lives. With seconds left on the clock, a long three-pointer swished through the net, and the challengers, who had been down by 25, miraculously tied the game. The buzzer sounded, and the arena erupted. Overtime. The challengers, who had looked dead and buried, now had the momentum, the belief, and the energy. The Thunderbolts, utterly shell-shocked by the referee's unconventional stewardship of the game, crumbled in the extra period. The challengers won by a single point. It was a comeback so improbable, so against the run of play, that people talked about it for years. Vance, the quiet referee, simply walked off the court, his expression unreadable, leaving everyone to wonder if he was a genius, a rogue, or simply a man who understood the fragile psychology of champions better than anyone. This wasn't just a game, it was a psychological experiment played out on the biggest stage. Vance didn't break the rules. He bent them, stretched them, and in doing so, he rewrote the entire narrative of a championship. It forces you to question what fairness really means in a competition. Have you ever witnessed a game where the officiating felt like it was painting a story rather than just calling the rules? Share your wildest referee stories or even just your thoughts on Vance's master plan in the comments below. If stories about the hidden depths and psychological chess matches within sports fascinate you, make sure to subscribe to Foul Play. We're always digging into the unexpected, the controversial, and the truly unbelievable moments that define the game.